In this review, we'll be breaking Rage 2 down into 5 categories: story, gameplay, depth, audio, and visual. I'll be giving each one of those categories a score out of a possible 10 points, and at the end, the average number will be the game's rating. So let's get into the review.
Headshot.
Rage 2 is a first-person shooter that takes place in a post-apocalyptic open-world environment. The development team behind this game is Avalanche Studios and id Software. Both of these companies hold prestigious titles like the Just Cause series and Doom. The publisher behind Rage 2 is Bethesda Softworks, who gave us the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. All three of these companies are considered heavy hitters in the gaming industry, which sets expectation levels pretty high for a game like Rage 2. id Software pretty much created the first-person shooter genre. Avalanche Studios has done a lot of work on open-world games, and Bethesda is majorly known for their first-person RPGs. If you're looking for a copy of Rage 2 for yourself, it's available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. The story of Rage 2 takes place in the year 2165, which is 30 years after the events of the first Rage. You'll be playing as a ranger named Walker. There's no real customization you can do to the character, but you're at least able to choose the gender. In Rage 2, you'll run into multiple types of enemy factions who are all vying for control over the different biomes' resources. But the main antagonists are the Authority. The Authority's main objective is to oppress and control the world, but they have a special focus on the Arcs and their survivors. You'll find these Arcs around the open world. Each one will have a new weapon or ability for you to use. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but essentially, you'll end up dealing with the Authority and a cyborg-looking dude named General Cross. The main story of Rage 2 is very short, which is a huge problem. You could probably beat the main story anywhere between 5 to 10 hours if you're not doing anything else. Once the main story is complete, the only thing really left to do is grind all the points of interest. So, after the main story is complete, the flow of the game will look like this. Select a point of interest on the map, jump into the Icarus, fly there, kill everyone, find all the chests, and then repeat. Once there's no story left, the meaning behind everything you do decreases. For this reason, I'm going to give the story a 4.5 out of 10. The story itself isn't terrible, but the length is just way too short. The gameplay of Rage 2 is where the game really shines. It's fast-paced and it feels great. For the most part. Let's talk about the vehicles first, and then we'll get into the first-person shooter elements. There are quite a few different types of vehicles you can choose to drive in Rage 2, but there's only one you can fly, and it's called the Icarus. I think most people will find that the Icarus will be their main vehicle for travel because it's the fastest way to get from point A to point B. That being said, the controls for it kind of suck. Ascending and descending are erratic, and even flying in the direction you want to go can be finicky. Eventually, you'll get kind of used to the Icarus, but there will always be a part of you that wonders why the developers did not make it more comfortable to use. The other vehicles in the game are kind of whatever, but the Phoenix is the only one you can actually upgrade at this time. The upgrades for the Phoenix add formidable weapons and extra armor, making it easier to take down enemy convoys around the map. Near the end of the game, you'll get a tank called the Xerxes 3. Comes with a decent amount of armor, and the cannon on it doles out a good amount of damage, but it's too slow for taking down convoys and also costs $500 to deploy, but it's not bad. Anyway, I think as far as vehicles go, most people will end up using the Icarus and the Phoenix. The first-person combat in Rage 2 is way better than average. It's very fast-paced, which is a blessing to those of us who pride ourselves on our first-person shooter capabilities, and the combat is what you would expect from an id Software game who brought us games like Doom and Quake. The flow of the combat rewards an aggressive playstyle, and it feels extremely polished. I cannot stress it enough that this is where the game's value truly lies. One last thing to mention is that there aren't any load screens, which is pretty awesome. The only load screen you'll have to deal with is the one that sits between the main menu and the game, and it only takes a second or two. John Carmack himself would be proud. I'm giving Rage 2's gameplay a 9 out of 10. The 1 point I'm deducting from the score is a result of the clunky experience of flying the Icarus, which again is kind of the go-to mode of transportation around the map. As far as the skill trees and perks go in Rage 2, there's actually quite a bit of stuff for you to unlock. The 4 main categories of unlockable skills are nanotread abilities, weapons, projects, and vehicles. There are 11 different nanotread abilities, and each ability has its own skill tree. There are 8 different types of weapons that all have their own skill trees. There are 4 different project trees, and there is also the skill tree for the Phoenix. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff for you to unlock. I've got a little over 20 hours into Rage 2, and I've got almost everything unlocked, so even though there's a lot of depth, it doesn't take very long to max everything out. I'm happy with the perk system. I mean, the perks are relevant, but I'm a customization fiend, so it's lame once everything is finally maxed out because there's nothing left to really look forward to in regards to upgrades. At 20 hours in, and having everything maxed out is not ideal. It's because of this reason that I'm giving the depth of Rage 2 an 8 out of 10. Really, the developers didn't have to put any upgrades into the game at all, so in the end, I'm happy it's there. I just wish there was more of it. The audio in Rage 2 is definitely above average. The vehicles, the gunfire, the reloading are all very satisfying from a sound perspective. The voice acting is pretty decent as well. Some people take audio in a game for granted. It's just kind of there, and if it's good, it's easy to accept and enjoy. But if it's poor, it can ruin a whole game. There are some awkward moments in Rage 2 where sound effects seem to be missing, but that doesn't happen very often. That being said, missing audio is extremely noticeable when it does happen, so overall, I'd say the sound is good. I give it a 7 out of 10. As far as visuals go, the graphics in Rage 2 are pretty good. There's plenty of details in the environment, and all the biomes look unique. There's deserts, swamps, wastelands, forests, and cities that all have a pretty unique feel to their environments. There are a ton of locations around the map for you to explore, and for the most part, they all feel a little different from one another. There are some commonalities between certain locations, like roadblocks are kind of similar, but everyone is a little different. The level designs are really well done, which makes for extremely fun combat conditions, and although some areas can seem a little bit linear, it's not such a bad thing knowing where you have to go next, and for the most part, it never feels too linear. The one complaint I do have about the visuals is that some things just look a little generic. Even the intro to the game, there are spots where I couldn't help but notice that General Cross looked a little bland, or the environment could have used a little more detail, but maybe that's just me being nitpicky, I don't know, but I would give the visuals an 8.5 out of 10. So, with all the scores added up and averaged, I'm giving Rage 2 a 7.4 out of 10. The thing that really hurt the score here is the lack of a main story. I think most people would agree that it's just way too short, and once it's completed, the rest of the game can feel a little bit redundant. That being said, the gameplay is way above average for a first-person shooter. If you want to flex your FPS muscles, this game will allow you to do that. For an open-world FPS, this game also has quite a few unlockable skills, abilities, weapons, and perks. So, what do you think? Is 7.4 out of 10 a fair review? Let us know what you think in the comments section, and if you enjoyed this review, please consider dropping a thumbs up on it, and if you'd like to help support me and the Havoc Gaming channel, a subscription would help me out a ton. If you've got any ideas on how I could maybe improve my review algorithm, let me know and I'll take it into consideration. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and Godspeed.